Action. So, introduce yourself, please.
Tavis Butts, CEO of Dopalicious Recording Studios, and I'm a producer, a writer, and owner of Tay Visions.
What is Tay Visions?
Tay Visions is the whole division: the music, the art, the video, everything.
Do you enjoy your job?
I love my job. I live for my job. Music is my passion.
Did you attend college?
I did twice.
And what did you major in?
Well, the first time I majored in business management, and that was in Atlanta Met. I have a bachelor's in business management. The second, I have a bachelor's in the science of production and music, which I got from Full Sail University in Winter Haven, Florida.
Did you have to take any special math courses for those majors?
Well, you don't have to take special math courses for the music, but you have to know math. You got to know fractions.
Were you always good at mathematics, or is that something you grew into with your occupation?
Well, the thing about mathematics is that's the only thing that's certain. I mean, 1 plus 1 is always going to be 2. So when there's other subjects, there's things that could be questionable, but nothing is questionable when it comes to mathematics. So I understood it right away. And besides, can't count, can't have money. So I like that.
So how big of a role does math play when it comes to music?
Pretty big, even though a lot of people don't even notice it, but everything in music is pretty much counting. Even though like music notes don't have a asthmatic foundation, meaning it's nothing that you can touch or count itself, but you can count the like probabilities of beats or rhythms or whatever. So when you first look at music that's written, you'll see like the music clef, and then you'll see 2 numbers, one usually on top of another. It could be like 4/4 or 4/16, and it's usually broken in fours because of measures of the way that bars are. So everything always end up at 16 per verse. So you need to know all that type of stuff.
Do you play any instruments?
I do.
How does math work with those instruments?
I mean, rhythm is counting. So whether it's drums, you know, things usually start on the 1, or if it's piano, everything starts in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. You have to know that mentally in order to stay on rhythm. Otherwise, it just sounds like a bunch of people without rhythm.
So you do more than producing songs.
Yeah, I write a lot of songs. I just love music, so it don't matter.
So when you write, do you consider math when you're writing?
You don't consider it like per se, but it has to happen in order for you to write in format. All songs is in formats. You know, usually there's 3 verses, a chorus, and a bridge. You know, all of this have to happen in a format. Like, you wouldn't want a verse that's longer than 16 bars because that would be abnormal to the consumer. You know, it'd be like a real long first verse and a short second verse. You really don't want that. You want it to balance out, so you know it's more consumer friendly. Otherwise, it can be kind of abstract. But like in music like jazz, which use lots of numbers, but they use a lot of different combinations of numbers. You may have something going on a 16 like this, but then you may have something else going slower like this. You know, it has a different combination of numbers in which when you close your eyes, it gives you a vision of something totally beautiful, but numbers do play a part in it.
So would you say things like melody and harmonizing, does that have to do with math?
In the same instance, it does, but it doesn't, because a lot of times it comes from you know, feelings and talents of voice. But yeah, it does, because each note is a note and each note is counted. So being counted, that's technically math. You know, if you don't want to be you don't want to sing on a 4/16 rhythm when the beat is actually on a 4/4 rhythm, then it wouldn't match, it wouldn't mesh. So you have to know the math in that sense, but a lot of people don't even realize it's math until they get technical with it. A lot of times you just wing it, and what works works.
So, what advice would you give a high school student struggling with math and wondering how it plays a role in future society and jobs?
Well, math is extremely important in jobs and life itself because you have to. Everything happens to deal with a number. You know, whether you have a little money or a lot of money. You know, so if you have a lot of money, you want to be able to count that money. A lot of people who wouldn't be able to count to 1,000,000. So how do you really know if you have $1,000,000? And that's just a matter. You know, they just say, "Oh, you got $1,000,000." You say, "Okay, I got $1,000,000." But if you can't count it, then what's the sense? I can give you $100. You know, this is kind of like cruel and probably off subject, so you might have to edit this. But I kid you not, I knew this one guy, and he used to pay this guy who couldn't count, and he just give him a lot of small bills, and the guy felt he had a lot of money. But technically, he didn't. So if you can't count, then really you're lost. You know, so you want to know, and you don't want to stick with basic counting. You want to go with algebra and trigonometry and stuff like that, because even though you probably won't use the majority of it in your life unless that's the business that you're in, like say if it's accounting or banking or something like that, but in all, it'll come in handy, especially if you plan to be successful. You know, can you imagine if Oprah or Bill Gates had to count their own money? That would be bananas.
Okay, that'll be all. Thank you.
That's it?
Yes.
Hoorah. Go Gorillas.